This video contains audio content only. There are no visual elements or images accompanying the audio. If you're expecting to see video footage, please note that this is an intentional audio-only presentation. We recommend listening to this content rather than watching the screen. Thank you for your understanding and enjoy the audio. Welcome to an exciting exploration of the Sino-Tibetan language family, a linguistic giant that spans from the towering Himalayas to the bustling cities of China and beyond. This journey through the world of Sino-Tibetan will be presented in easy-to-understand language, making this fascinating and complex topic accessible to everyone. Prepare to be amazed by the sheer scope of this language family, which encompasses over 400 languages and boasts more than 1.4 billion speakers, second only to Indo-European. We'll uncover the geographical reach of Sino-Tibetan, stretching across a vast swath of Asia and touching the lives of diverse communities, from Tibetan monks chanting ancient scriptures to market vendors haggling in the vibrant streets of Hong Kong. We'll delve into the family's two main branches, Sinitic and Tibeto-Burman, exploring their unique characteristics and the incredible diversity within each branch. Prepare to encounter languages you've likely never heard of, each a testament to the rich tapestry of human communication. Our exploration will take us back in time, on a quest to uncover the origins of this extraordinary family. We'll examine the competing theories surrounding the Sino-Tibetan homeland, from the northern plains of China to the mountainous regions of the southwest. We'll delve into the fascinating world of linguistic reconstruction, exploring how linguists piece together the sounds and structures of Proto-Sino-Tibetan, the hypothetical ancestor of all these languages. Think of it as linguistic archaeology, where words and grammar become the artifacts of a language spoken millennia ago. We'll uncover the fascinating ways in which agriculture has shaped the destiny of Sino-Tibetan, exploring how the cultivation of crops like millet and rice influenced not only vocabulary but also grammar, culture, and identity. We'll delve into the dynamic world of language contact, exploring how interactions between different languages and cultures have created a linguistic landscape as diverse and vibrant as the communities that inhabit it. Prepare to discover how borrowing, adaptation, and subtle shifts in sounds and structures have enriched the Sino-Tibetan family, leaving their imprint on the languages spoken by billions today. But our journey doesn't end in the past. We'll also confront the urgent challenge of language endangerment, exploring the factors that threaten the survival of many Sino-Tibetan languages and the heroic efforts underway to document and preserve these fading voices. We'll discover how linguists, working in collaboration with local communities, are racing against time to save these linguistic treasures, using cutting-edge technology and innovative approaches to language revitalization. By the end of this exploration, you'll have a deeper understanding of the Sino-Tibetan language family, its history, its diversity, and its future. You'll gain insights into the fascinating world of linguistics, discovering how languages evolve, interact, and reflect the cultures and experiences of their speakers. You'll appreciate the importance of linguistic diversity and the urgent need to protect endangered languages, not just as collections of words, but as expressions of human creativity, cultural heritage, and the enduring power of language to connect us to each other and to our shared past. So, join us on this exciting adventure into the world of Sino-Tibetan, a journey that promises to be both enlightening and inspiring. Chapter 1. The Seeds of Language, Unraveling the Origins of Sino-Tibetan. Imagine a Tibetan monk chanting scriptures in a monastery overlooking the Himalayas, the ancient syllables echoing through the crisp mountain air. Picture a market vendor in bustling Hong Kong haggling over prices in Cantonese, a rapid-fire exchange of tones and rhythms. Envision a rice farmer in rural Myanmar singing a folk song in Burmese, the melody weaving through the verdant paddy fields. These seemingly disparate scenes, separated by thousands of miles and distinct cultural traditions, are united by a common thread. The languages they speak all belong to the vast and ancient Sino-Tibetan family. This family, encompassing over 400 languages and boasting more than 1.4 billion speakers, represents the second largest language family on Earth, second only to Indo-European. Its reach is staggering, extending across a huge swath of Asia, from the eastern plains of China to the foothills of the Himalayas, down through Southeast Asia, and even touching parts of India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. The sheer number of speakers is mind-boggling. Over 1.3 billion people speak a Sinitic language, primarily Mandarin, the official language of China. But the family is far more than just Mandarin. It includes a dazzling array of languages, many of which are spoken by relatively small communities in remote and often isolated regions. Think of Cantonese with its distinctive 9 tones, spoken in Hong Kong, Macau, and parts of Southeast Asia. Consider Tibetan, the sacred language of Tibetan Buddhism, written in an elegant script derived from ancient India. Then there's Burmese, the official language of Myanmar, with its own unique writing system and a rich literary tradition. But beyond these well-known languages lies a hidden world of linguistic diversity. Have you ever heard of Tujia, spoken by a community in central China? Or perhaps Lahu, spoken in the mountains of southwest China, Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos? What about Kanauri, spoken in a remote valley in the Indian Himalayas? These are just a few examples of the lesser-known gems within the Sino-Tibetan family. Each language, no matter how small its speaker community, holds a unique piece of the puzzle, a clue to the family's shared past. These languages, despite their differences, share certain intriguing characteristics. Some, like Mandarin and Cantonese, rely on tones, changes in pitch, to distinguish between words. Imagine the word ma in Mandarin. Depending on the tone, it can mean mother, hemp, horse, scold, or a question particle. Other Sino-Tibetan languages, like many Tibetic languages, are agglutinative, meaning they string together multiple prefixes and suffixes to create complex words packed with meaning. Still others, like some of the Karen languages of Burma and Thailand, make use of classifiers, words that categorize nouns based on their characteristics. Much like how we might say, a loaf of bread, or a head of cattle. The diversity within the Sino-Tibetan family is immense, posing a significant challenge for linguists. It's like trying to piece together a giant jigsaw puzzle with many missing pieces, the picture obscured by time and language change. Yet, this diversity also makes the family incredibly fascinating. It offers a unique window into the human capacity for language, showcasing the myriad ways we can communicate and express ourselves. But the central question remains: where did this extraordinary family come from? How did such a diverse array of languages emerge from a single ancestor? This is the mystery we aim to unravel. Our quest takes us back in time, searching for the origins of what linguists call Proto-Sino-Tibetan, the hypothetical ancestor of all the Sino-Tibetan languages. Imagine a family tree. At the top is a single ancestor, and as we move down the tree, branches spread out, representing different generations. Languages evolve in a similar way. Proto-Sino-Tibetan, the common ancestor, existed at some point in the distant past. Over time, as communities migrated and interacted, the language began to change and diversify, giving rise to different branches and eventually the hundreds of languages we see today. Our journey to uncover the origins of Sino-Tibetan is a bit like detective work. We'll be examining clues hidden within the languages themselves, comparing words, sounds, and grammatical structures to trace the relationships between them. We'll be looking at the geographical distribution of these languages, considering the ways in which migration and contact with other languages may have shaped their development. And we'll be drawing on insights from other fields, such as archaeology and genetics, to piece together a more complete picture of the past. This chapter has set the stage for our exploration, introducing the vastness and diversity of the Sino-Tibetan family. In the chapters that follow, we'll delve into the specific theories and evidence surrounding the family's origins, examining the various hypotheses, the linguistic tools used to reconstruct the past, and the fascinating debates that continue to animate this field of study. Get ready to embark on a journey into the depths of linguistic history, a quest to uncover the seeds of language that blossomed into the rich tapestry of Sino-Tibetan. Chapter 2: The Great Debate, Contested Theories of Sino-Tibetan Origins. The quest to pinpoint the homeland of the Sino-Tibetan language family is a linguistic puzzle that has captivated scholars for centuries. It's a debate fueled by intriguing clues, conflicting evidence, and the sheer complexity of tracing language back through millennia. Several compelling theories have emerged, each offering a different narrative of how this vast and diverse family came to be. One prominent theory places the Sino-Tibetan homeland in northern China, specifically the Yellow River Valley. Proponents of this northern China origin hypothesis paint a picture of millet farmers, the earliest cultivators of this staple grain, living in the region around 7,200 years ago. These communities, associated with the late Sishan and early Yangshuo cultures, are seen as the likely progenitors of Proto-Sino-Tibetan. The spread of agriculture, particularly millet farming, is considered a key driver of the language's dispersal. As these agricultural communities expanded, so too did their language, branching out and diversifying across the landscape. Evidence for this theory comes from several sources. Linguistically, the basic vocabulary of many Sino-Tibetan languages contains words for domesticates that point to a northern Chinese origin. Words for pig, sheep, and, crucially, millet, show regular sound correspondences across different branches of the family, suggesting they were present in the ancestral language. Archaeological findings further support this narrative. The Yangshuo culture, known for its distinctive painted pottery and centripetal settlement pattern, flourished in the Yellow River Valley during the proposed timeframe. These settlements, often arranged around a central plaza, suggest a close-knit community where shared rituals and communal feasts, often involving painted pottery filled with food and drink, may have fostered linguistic cohesion. Imagine these early farmers gathering for celebrations, sharing stories and songs in a common tongue, their language evolving alongside their agricultural practices. However, the northern China origin story isn't without its challengers. An alternative theory, the southwestern origin hypothesis, points to the mountainous regions of Sichuan and northeast India as the more likely birthplace of Sino-Tibetan. Supporters of this view emphasize the incredible linguistic diversity found in these areas, arguing that such diversity indicates a longer period of linguistic evolution, implying an earlier origin. They argue that if the family had originated in northern China, the linguistic landscape would be more homogeneous, reflecting the dominance of Sinitic languages. The mosaic of languages in the southwest, they contend, tells a different story, one of an ancient linguistic tapestry woven over millennia in the remote valleys and mountains of the Himalayas. Another variant, the Eastern Himalayan origin hypothesis, suggests an even earlier origin, placing the homeland in the eastern Himalayas before 9,000 years ago. This theory proposes a westward migration to the Tibetan Plateau followed by an eastward movement into China. However, this hypothesis faces criticism due to a lack of archaeological evidence supporting such early settlements in the Himalayas. Moreover, critics argue that the linguistic diversity in the Himalayas could be the result of contact with other language families, rather than evidence of an ancient origin. Imagine communities migrating through these mountainous regions, encountering speakers of other languages, and incorporating some of their words and grammatical structures into their own. This linguistic exchange, while enriching the language, can also complicate the task of tracing its origins. A third perspective attempts to reconcile the seemingly contradictory evidence from both the northern and southwestern hypotheses. This complex scenario proposes an initial divergence of Proto-Sino-Tibetan in northern China, followed by a secondary westward dispersal that led to the diversification of Tibeto-Burman languages. This narrative incorporates the agricultural and archaeological evidence from the north with the linguistic diversity observed in the southwest. Imagine a small group of Proto-Sino-Tibetan speakers migrating westward from the Yellow River Valley around 5,900 years ago. As they moved through the mountainous terrain, they encountered new environments and new communities, their language gradually changing and adapting, eventually giving rise to the Tibeto-Burman branch of the family. Another migration, this time southwestward across the Tibetan Plateau, further contributed to the linguistic diversification of the family. The distribution of certain cognates across different branches of the family provides some intriguing clues. Words for basic concepts like 3, 4, dream, and name are found in many Sino-Tibetan languages, albeit with variations in pronunciation. These shared words, like linguistic fossils, offer glimpses into the ancestral language. Moreover, the distribution of words for other domesticates, such as rice, cattle, and horse, suggests later adoption of these animals and crops as the language spread southward and westward. Imagine the early Sino-Tibetan speakers encountering new agricultural practices and incorporating the names of these new plants and animals into their vocabulary. The quest to unravel the origins of Sino-Tibetan continues, with researchers drawing on a wide range of evidence. Genetic studies, while not definitive, offer some tantalizing hints about the relationships between different populations. Linguists continue to refine their methods of language comparison, developing sophisticated computational tools to analyze vast amounts of data and build more accurate language trees. Archaeologists continue to unearth new evidence of ancient settlements and migrations, shedding light on the movements of people and the spread of cultures. The debate is far from settled, but the ongoing research promises to reveal even more about the fascinating story of Sino-Tibetan, a story that spans millennia and touches the lives of billions of people today. The search for the family's homeland is a testament to the enduring power of language to connect us to our shared past. Chapter 3. Ghosts of Tongues Past. Reconstructing Proto-Sino-Tibetan. Imagine piecing together a shattered vase, not from ceramic fragments, but from echoes and whispers, the faint linguistic remnants of a language spoken thousands of years ago. This is the challenge facing linguists who study Proto-Sino-Tibetan, the common ancestor of hundreds of languages spoken across a vast swath of Asia. Their work is a meticulous process of linguistic detective work, comparing words, sounds, and grammatical structures across the modern Sino-Tibetan family to reconstruct the language of their linguistic ancestors. The primary tool in this linguistic archaeology is the comparative method. Scholars meticulously gather word lists from different branches of the family, searching for cognates, words with shared meanings and demonstrably similar sounds. Take, for example, the word for name. In Mandarin, it's main, in Tibetan, main, and in Burmese, mai. While the words sound different, the resemblance is clear, particularly between Mandarin and Tibetan. These similarities, along with cognates from other languages in the family, allow linguists to propose a reconstructed Proto-Sino-Tibetan form, piecing together the likely sounds of the ancestral tongue. But the comparative method is more than just matching similar-sounding words. It involves a deep understanding of how sounds change over time. Linguists have identified regular sound correspondences, patterns of how sounds shift across related languages. For instance, they might observe that a p sound in one branch corresponds to a b sound in another, or that a k sound becomes a g sound under certain conditions. These correspondences, established through rigorous comparison, become powerful tools for reconstruction, allowing linguists to infer the original sounds of the proto-language. It's like having a linguistic Rosetta Stone, a key to deciphering the sounds of the past. Another vital resource for reconstruction is the study of ancient texts and inscriptions. Old Chinese, with inscriptions dating back to 1250 BC, offers a particularly valuable window into the past. Scholars painstakingly analyze these inscriptions, comparing the phonetic elements in Chinese characters and the rhyming patterns of early poetry to reconstruct the sounds of the language. Similarly, the extensive written records of Tibetan, dating back to the 7th century AD, and the somewhat more limited records of Burmese, starting in the 12th century AD, provide crucial data for comparison. These written records, though separated by time and distance, offer invaluable anchors for the reconstruction process. They are like linguistic time capsules, preserving snapshots of the language at different stages of its development. The reconstruction of Tangut, the language of the Western Xia dynasty, 1038 to 1227, presents a unique set of challenges. Despite the existence of multilingual dictionaries, the Chinese-inspired logographic script used to write Tangut is notoriously difficult to interpret. Yet, scholars like Gong Wang Cherng have made significant progress in comparing Tangut with Old Chinese, Tibetan, and Burmese, establishing valuable sound correspondences between these languages. This work, though challenging, highlights the ingenuity and persistence of linguists in their quest to recover lost languages. However, the path to reconstructing Proto-Sino-Tibetan is not without its obstacles. The sheer time depth involved, thousands of years of linguistic change, makes the task incredibly complex. Sounds shift, words are borrowed, meanings evolve, and grammatical structures transform. The impact of language contact further complicates the picture. Imagine communities interacting with speakers of other languages, exchanging words and ideas, and influencing each other's languages. This linguistic cross-pollination, while enriching the languages involved, can also obscure the historical signal, making it harder to discern true cognates from borrowed words. The limited nature of available data for many Sino-Tibetan languages poses another significant challenge. Many languages, particularly those spoken in remote and isolated communities, are poorly documented. The descriptions available were often compiled by missionaries and colonial administrators, whose linguistic training may have been limited. These descriptions, while valuable, often lack the detail and precision needed for rigorous linguistic analysis. It's like trying to solve a mystery with incomplete clues, the picture blurry and fragmented. Furthermore, the great diversity of the languages within the Sino-Tibetan family itself adds another layer of complexity. The family includes languages with vastly different sound systems, grammatical structures, and vocabulary. Some languages are tonal, using pitch to distinguish meaning, while others are not. Some are agglutinative, stringing together prefixes and suffixes, while others are more isolating, relying on word order to convey grammatical relationships. This diversity, while fascinating, makes it challenging to identify patterns and establish sound correspondences. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Both are fruits, but they have distinct characteristics. Despite these challenges, linguists have made remarkable progress in reconstructing Proto-Sino-Tibetan. They've pieced together a tentative picture of its sound system, identifying a series of consonants and vowels that likely existed in the proto-language. Scholars like Paul K. Benedict have reconstructed a two-way distinction on initial consonants based on voicing, with aspiration conditioned by pre-initial consonants, a pattern observed in Tibetan but lost in many other languages. This reconstruction, though debated, offers a glimpse into the complexities of the Proto-Sino-Tibetan sound system. They've also reconstructed parts of its grammar, identifying prefixes like the causative s and the intransitive m, as well as suffixes like s, t, and n. These prefixes and suffixes, though their exact functions are still debated, suggest that Proto-Sino-Tibetan had a more complex morphology than many of its modern descendants, like Mandarin. This reconstruction of affixes, like finding grammatical puzzle pieces, helps us understand how the language was structured and how meaning was conveyed. Perhaps most intriguing is the reconstruction of vocabulary. Words for common agricultural terms, like millet and pig, suggest that the early Sino-Tibetan speakers were farmers, likely cultivating these crops and raising these animals. This linguistic evidence aligns with archaeological findings, pointing to an agricultural lifestyle in the proposed homeland. Other reconstructed words, like those for cloud, water, and sky, offer glimpses into the natural world inhabited by these early speakers. Each reconstructed word, like a linguistic artifact, provides a small window into the past. One particularly illuminating example is the reconstruction of terms related to rice cultivation. While rice is a staple crop in many parts of Asia today, its presence in Proto-Sino-Tibetan is less certain. The distribution of words for rice across the family suggests a later adoption of this crop, perhaps through contact with other agricultural communities. This linguistic detective work not only sheds light on the early Sino-Tibetan lifestyle but also highlights the dynamic nature of language and its interaction with cultural practices. While much remains uncertain, the reconstruction of Proto-Sino-Tibetan continues, driven by the dedication and ingenuity of linguistic researchers. Each new discovery, each new cognate identified, each new sound correspondence established, brings us closer to understanding the language of our linguistic ancestors. The ghosts of tongues past, though faint, are gradually revealing their secrets, allowing us to paint a richer and more detailed picture of the world they inhabited. It's a story told not in ink and parchment, but in the subtle echoes and whispers of languages spoken across millennia. Chapter 4. A Family Divided, Tracing the Branches of Sino-Tibetan's Sprawling Tree. The Sino-Tibetan language family, a linguistic giant second only to Indo-European in its global reach, presents a fascinating study in both unity and diversity. Imagine a vast tree, its roots anchored deep in the heart of Asia, its branches reaching across mountains, valleys, and plains, touching the lives of over 1.4 billion people. This tree, representing the Sino-Tibetan family, has two primary branches, Sinitic and Tibeto-Burman. While linked by a common ancestry, these two branches have evolved along distinct paths, giving rise to a remarkable array of languages, each a testament to the complex history and migration patterns of its speakers. The Sinitic branch, often referred to as the Chinese languages, dominates the eastern part of the Sino-Tibetan domain. It's a branch teeming with life, boasting over 1.3 billion speakers, the world's largest speech community. The most prominent member, Mandarin, serves as the official language of China and is understood by the majority of Sinitic speakers. Modern Standard Chinese, based on the Beijing dialect, is the standardized form of Mandarin used in education, media, and official communication. But the Sinitic branch is far more than just Mandarin. It encompasses a rich tapestry of languages, often mistakenly referred to as dialects, each with its own distinct characteristics. Journey south from Beijing, and you'll encounter Wu, spoken by nearly 80 million people in Shanghai and the surrounding Jiangsu and Zhejiang provinces. Shanghainese, a prominent Wu dialect, stands out with its unique vocabulary and tonal system, often unintelligible to Mandarin speakers. Venture west into Hunan province, and you'll hear Shang, spoken by over 36 million people. This language, also known as Hunanese, preserves some archaic features of Old Chinese, offering linguists valuable clues to the family's past. Further west, in Jiangxi province, lies Gan, spoken by over 20 million people. Hakka, another Sinitic language, is spoken by communities scattered across southern China, Taiwan, and Southeast Asia, reflecting the migration history of its speakers. In Guangdong and Guangxi provinces, as well as Hong Kong and Macau, you'll find Yu, better known as Cantonese. With its 9 tones, Cantonese stands out for its complex sound system and its significant role in the Chinese diaspora. Finally, along the southeastern coast of China and in Taiwan, you'll encounter Min, a diverse group of languages, including Fuzhou, Amoy, Shaman, Swato, Shantou, and Taiwanese. These Min languages, often mutually unintelligible, reflect the region's long history of maritime trade and cultural exchange. The Tibeto-Burman branch, while less populous than Sinitic, boasts an even more striking diversity. It's a branch that sprawls across the Himalayas, the Southeast Asian Massif, and the eastern edge of the Tibetan Plateau, encompassing hundreds of languages spoken in China, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, and other countries. This branch is a linguistic treasure trove, a testament to the complex interplay of migration, isolation, and language contact. High in the Himalayas and on the Tibetan Plateau, you'll find the Tibetic languages, spoken by around 6 million people. Classical Tibetan, the language of ancient Buddhist texts, serves as a unifying literary language, while various spoken dialects, sometimes mutually unintelligible, reflect the region's rugged terrain and the relative isolation of its communities. Imagine a monk in Lhasa conversing with a nomad in the remote reaches of the plateau. Their dialects, though related, may sound strikingly different. Further south, in Myanmar and parts of southwest China, lies the Burmic group, including Burmese, the official language of Myanmar, spoken by over 30 million people. The Burmese script, derived from the Brahmi script of ancient India, reflects the region's historical connections with South Asia. But Burmic is more than just Burmese. It includes a diverse array of languages like Yi, Lolo, spoken by over 7 million people in southwest China, Hani, spoken in Yunnan province and parts of Southeast Asia, Lahu, with its distinctive pictographic writing system showing Chinese influence, Lisu, spoken in Yunnan, Sichuan, and Myanmar, Kachin, Jingpo, with its own writing system based on the Roman alphabet, and the Kuki-Chin languages, spoken in India, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. Beyond Tibetic and Burmic, the Tibeto-Burman branch includes a myriad of other language groups. There's Barak, spoken primarily in northeast India and parts of Bangladesh, including languages like Bodo and Garo. The Korenic languages, spoken in Myanmar and Thailand, stand out for their unique syntactic features. The Hmong-Mien languages, spoken in southwest China and Southeast Asia, are sometimes included within Sino-Tibetan, though their exact relationship to the family remains a topic of debate. Some linguists see evidence of borrowing from Chinese into Tibeto-Burman, further complicating the task of classification. Classifying the Tibeto-Burman languages is like navigating a dense jungle, the paths obscured by thick undergrowth. Many of these languages are spoken in remote and often inaccessible mountainous areas, making fieldwork challenging. Political sensitivities and border disputes in some regions further complicate research. These sensitive border zones often restrict access for linguists, hindering documentation efforts and leaving many languages poorly described. Imagine trying to study a language spoken in a contested border region, the terrain itself a barrier, the political climate adding another layer of difficulty. The limited documentation available for many Tibeto-Burman languages often comes from missionaries and colonial administrators, whose descriptions, while valuable, may lack the detail and precision needed for rigorous linguistic analysis. This scarcity of data makes it difficult to establish clear genetic relationships and reconstruct the family tree with certainty. It's like having a map with many blank spaces, the routes unclear, the destinations uncertain. The writing systems used in Tibeto-Burman languages further reflect the region's complex history. Tibetan and Burmese, with their scripts derived from Brahmi, showcase the influence of ancient India. The now obsolete Tangut script, used by the Western Shah dynasty, reveals a fascinating adaptation of the Chinese model. Some languages, like Yi and Naxi, developed their own pictographic writing systems, showing some influence from Chinese. In modern times, many Tibeto-Burman languages have adopted the Roman alphabet or the script of the dominant language in their region, further illustrating the interplay of linguistic and cultural contact. The story of Sino-Tibetan is one of both remarkable unity and astonishing diversity. It's a story told not only in the grand sweep of language families and branches but also in the intimate details of individual languages, each a reflection of the unique history and cultural experiences of its speakers. From the bustling markets of Hong Kong to the remote mountain valleys of the Himalayas, the languages of Sino-Tibetan resonate with the voices of billions, a testament to the enduring power of language to connect us to our shared past and to shape our diverse present. Chapter 5. The Puzzle of Chinese. Unlocking the secrets of its ancient form. Imagine yourself a linguistic archaeologist, sifting through the sands of time, not for pottery shards or ancient bones, but for the elusive echoes of a language spoken millennia ago. This is the challenge of reconstructing Old Chinese, the ancestor of modern Sinitic languages, a language hidden behind a veil of logographic characters, where symbols represent ideas, not sounds. Unlike alphabetic scripts, which offer a relatively straightforward path to pronunciation, the Chinese writing system presents a unique puzzle, demanding ingenuity and a healthy dose of detective work to unlock its phonetic secrets. Our journey begins with the realization that Old Chinese, the language spoken during the early Zhou dynasty around the first millennium BC, is not directly accessible to us. The characters used to write it, while preserving a wealth of meaning, offer only tantalizing hints about their pronunciation. It's like having a musical score without any notes, a play without any dialogue. We know what's happening, but we can't hear the music or the voices. To decipher the sounds of Old Chinese, scholars have developed a range of ingenious methods, each a linguistic tool designed to chip away at the mystery. One crucial resource is the Cheyan, a rhyme dictionary compiled in 602 AD during the Sui dynasty. This dictionary, though describing the sounds of Middle Chinese, provides invaluable clues to the pronunciation of earlier forms. It's like having a dictionary from Shakespeare's time. While not identical to the English spoken centuries earlier, it offers valuable insights into the language's evolution. The Cheyan employed a clever system to represent the sounds of Chinese characters. Each character was glossed with two other characters, one sharing the same initial consonant, the other sharing the same rhyme, vowel, final consonant, and tone. This system, though complex, allowed scholars to analyze the sound patterns of Middle Chinese and, by working backward, infer the pronunciation of Old Chinese. It's like using a mirror to see around a corner, using the reflection of Middle Chinese to glimpse the hidden form of Old Chinese. Another key to unlocking the sounds of Old Chinese lies within the characters themselves. Many characters are composed of two elements, a radical, indicating the meaning, and a phonetic, hinting at the pronunciation. By comparing characters with the same phonetic component, scholars can deduce how they might have sounded in the past. For instance, the character ma, mother, contains the phonetic component ma, horse. While the tones differ in modern Mandarin, this shared component suggests a similar pronunciation in Old Chinese. It's like finding a family resemblance, a shared feature that points to a common ancestor. Further clues come from the rhyming patterns of ancient Chinese poetry, particularly the Shijing, or Book of Songs, a collection of poems dating back to the Western Zhou dynasty, 1046 to 771 BC. By analyzing which characters rhymed in these ancient poems, scholars can deduce which sounds were similar or identical in Old Chinese. It's like listening to the echoes of ancient bards, their rhymes revealing the sound patterns of a language long gone. Comparisons with foreign transcriptions provide another valuable tool. During different periods of Chinese history, words were borrowed into other languages, and Chinese words were transcribed using the sounds of those languages. These transcriptions, while imperfect, offer glimpses into how Chinese might have sounded to foreign ears. For example, early transcriptions of Chinese words into Vietnamese, Korean, and Japanese provide valuable data for comparison. It's like hearing a familiar melody played on a different instrument, the essence of the tune recognizable despite the change in timbre. However, the reconstruction of Old Chinese is far from a simple process. It's a complex puzzle with many missing pieces, the picture obscured by layers of language change and the limitations of the available evidence. One of the most contentious issues is the number of vowels in Old Chinese. The pioneering work of Bernhard Karlgren, a Swedish sinologist, resulted in a complex system with a large number of vowels, many with a highly uneven distribution. This unwieldy system has been challenged by later scholars, with proposals like Nicholas Bodman's six-vowel system gaining traction. It's like trying to determine the number of colors in a faded tapestry, the original hues obscured by time and wear. Another example of the complexities involved is the reinterpretation of Karlgren's L as R. Originally, Karlgren reconstructed an L sound in Old Chinese. However, later research, drawing on comparisons with other Sino-Tibetan languages and Chinese transcriptions of foreign names, suggests that this sound was actually an R. This reinterpretation, though seemingly minor, has significant implications for our understanding of the Old Chinese sound system and its relationship to other languages in the family. It's like realizing that a seemingly insignificant detail in a painting is actually a crucial clue to the artist's identity. One of the most fascinating aspects of Old Chinese reconstruction is the emergence of tones in Middle Chinese. The prevailing theory is that these tones developed from final consonants present in Old Chinese. As these consonants were gradually lost or weakened, they left their imprint on the preceding vowel, transforming into differences in pitch. Imagine the final S in Old Chinese. This sound, believed to be a suffix with cognates in other Sino-Tibetan languages, likely played a role in the development of the rising tone in Middle Chinese. It's like a sculptor chipping away at a block of stone, the final form emerging from the removal of material. Old Chinese also had consonant clusters, combinations of two or more consonants at the beginning or end of a syllable. These clusters, absent in modern Mandarin, may have also contributed to the development of tones. For instance, a final P, T, or K could have influenced the development of the departing tone, while a final M, N, or F might have contributed to the entering tone. It's like a chemist combining different elements, the resulting compound exhibiting properties different from its constituent parts. The evolution of Old Chinese has profoundly shaped the modern Sinitic languages we speak today. Features like prefixes, suffixes, and word order have undergone significant transformations. Old Chinese made use of prefixes like s, causative, m, intransitive, and others with uncertain functions. Suffixes like s, t, and n were also common. These affixes, largely lost in modern Mandarin, offer clues to the more complex morphology of Old Chinese. It's like comparing a modern city to its ancient ruins, the remnants of old structures hinting at a different way of life. Word order has also changed significantly. While modern Mandarin follows a subject-verb-object order, Old Chinese likely had a more flexible word order, possibly even object-verb, a pattern found in many other Sino-Tibetan languages. This shift in word order reflects a fundamental change in the way grammatical relations are expressed. It's like rearranging the furniture in a room, the same object serving different functions in a new configuration. The reconstruction of Old Chinese is an ongoing process, a linguistic puzzle that continues to fascinate and challenge researchers. While much has been discovered, much remains uncertain. The limited nature of the evidence, the complexities of language change, and the sheer time depth involved make definitive pronouncements difficult. It's like trying to reconstruct a dinosaur from a few scattered bones, the complete skeleton elusive, the details open to interpretation. Yet, the quest continues, driven by the desire to understand the origins and evolution of one of the world's most influential languages. Each new discovery, each new insight, brings us closer to unlocking the secrets of Old Chinese, revealing the ghosts of tongues past and shedding light on the rich linguistic tapestry of the Sinitic branch of the Sino-Tibetan family. Chapter 6. Whispers from the Himalayas, exploring the diversity of Tibeto-Burman. Imagine standing on a windswept Himalayan pass, prayer flags fluttering above you, the air filled with the sounds of chanting and the murmur of unfamiliar languages. This is the realm of Tibeto-Burman, a branch of the Sino-Tibetan language family that stretches across the towering Himalayas, down through the jungles of Southeast Asia, and into the plains of India. It's a linguistic tapestry woven from hundreds of distinct languages, each a thread in a rich and complex narrative of migration, adaptation, and cultural exchange. This chapter delves into the heart of this diversity, exploring the unique grammatical structures, intricate sound systems, and fascinating cultural connections that make Tibeto-Burman a treasure trove of linguistic wonders. The geographical reach of Tibeto-Burman is vast, encompassing a wide range of environments and cultures. In the high Himalayas, nestled among snow-capped peaks and glaciers, we find languages like Sherpa, spoken by the communities famed for their mountaineering skills in Nepal. Further east, in Bhutan, Dzongkha, the national language, echoes through the valleys, carrying the cadence of Buddhist chants and folktales. Across the border, in northeast India, a mosaic of languages unfolds, from the rolling hills of Assam, where Bodo is spoken, to the remote mountains of Arunachal Pradesh, home to languages like Adi and Nishi. Down through Myanmar, Burmese, the official language, acts as a linguistic bridge connecting diverse ethnic groups, including the Karen, Kachin, and Chin, each with their own distinct languages and traditions. In the mountains of southwest China, languages like Yi, Hani, Lahu, and Lisu paint a vibrant linguistic landscape, their tones and rhythms echoing through terraced rice fields in ancient forests. The spread of Tibeto-Burman even extends into parts of Bangladesh and Pakistan, where languages like Garo and Balti respectively are spoken, highlighting the family's extensive reach. However, accessing and documenting these linguistic treasures can be a formidable challenge. Many Tibeto-Burman languages are spoken in remote and isolated communities, high in the Himalayas or nestled in dense jungles. Imagine trekking for days through rugged terrain, crossing rushing rivers and navigating treacherous mountain passes, just to reach a small village where a unique language is spoken. The political landscape adds another layer of complexity. Sensitive border regions, often marked by conflict and restricted access, can make fieldwork difficult and sometimes dangerous. Even when access is granted, the task of documenting these languages requires sensitivity and respect for the communities and their traditions. It's a delicate balance between the pursuit of knowledge and the preservation of cultural heritage. The languages of Tibeto-Burman are as diverse as the landscapes they inhabit. Their grammatical structures offer a glimpse into the unique ways in which these communities perceive and interact with the world. One striking feature found in many Tibeto-Burman languages is the elaborate system of verb prefixes. These prefixes, attached to the beginning of verbs, can convey a wealth of information, from tense and aspect to the direction of an action. In the Kiranti language Belhair, for instance, the prefix k indicates motion away from the speaker. So, k-ta means, to go away, while ta simply means, to go. In other languages, prefixes might indicate the completion of an action, the repetition of an action, or even the involvement of a specific body part. It's like adding a series of lenses to a camera, each prefix providing a different perspective on the action described by the verb. Classifiers, another hallmark of Tibeto-Burman, categorize nouns based on their characteristics, much like how English uses a loaf of bread or a head of cattle. However, Tibeto-Burman classifiers often go beyond simple shape and function, reflecting cultural perceptions and beliefs. In Tibetan, for example, the classifier cha is used for flat objects like paper and cloth, but also for abstract concepts like thoughts and ideas. The classifier fa, on the other hand, is used for long, thin objects like sticks and ropes, but also for rivers and roads. These classifiers, like linguistic signposts, guide us through the cultural landscape of the language. Compared to Chinese classifiers, which tend to focus on shape and animacy, Tibeto-Burman classifiers often incorporate more nuanced distinctions, reflecting the close relationship between language and culture. Perhaps one of the most fascinating grammatical features of Tibeto-Burman is evidentiality, a system where the verb itself indicates the source of the speaker's knowledge. Imagine hearing someone say, "The dog barked." In a language with evidentiality, the verb for bark would change depending on whether the speaker saw the dog barking, heard it barking from a distance, or was simply told about it by someone else. In the Lahu language, for instance, the sentence "gad," literally, dog bark visual, means, "I saw the dog bark." Change the evidential marker on the verb, and the sentence becomes "gay," "I heard the dog bark." Evidentiality adds a layer of nuance to communication, reflecting the importance of context and the source of information in these communities. The phonological landscape of Tibeto-Burman is as varied as its grammar. Tone, the use of pitch to distinguish meaning, is a prominent feature in many languages, but the number of tones and their behavior can differ dramatically. Standard Tibetan, for instance, has a relatively simple system with just two tones, high and low. Burmese, on the other hand, has three tones, high, low, and creaky. Some Hmong-Mien languages have even more complex systems, with up to 12 distinct tones. Imagine the word ma in a Hmong language. Depending on the tone, it could mean a dozen different things. Tone sandy, a phenomenon where tones change in context, adds another layer of complexity. In many Tibeto-Burman languages, the tone of a word can change depending on the tones of surrounding words. It's like a musical score where the notes change depending on the harmony. In Burmese, for example, the high tone can become a low tone when followed by another high tone. This tonal interplay, while adding a musicality to the language, can also make it challenging for learners to master. Beyond tone, other phonological features contribute to the diversity of Tibeto-Burman. Consonant clusters, combinations of two or more consonants at the beginning or end of a syllable, are common in some languages but absent in others. Some languages have unusual sounds, like the retroflex consonants found in many languages of the Himalayas, produced by curling the tongue back towards the roof of the mouth. These sounds, like linguistic fingerprints, can help trace the relationships between different languages and reconstruct their shared history. One striking example of sound change in Tibeto-Burman is the development of prenasalized stops in some languages. These sounds, like mb and nd, are produced by starting with a nasal sound and then quickly transitioning to a stop. They're common in languages like Bisu, spoken in southwest China and Southeast Asia, but absent in many other Tibeto-Burman languages. This unusual sound change, like a linguistic mutation, provides a clue to the unique evolutionary path of these languages. The linguistic diversity of Tibeto-Burman is inextricably linked to the history and culture of its speakers. The geographical distribution of the languages reflects centuries of migration and settlement, with communities spreading across mountains, valleys, and plains, adapting to new environments and interacting with other cultures. The grammatical structures, like verb prefixes, classifiers, and evidentiality, offer insights into the ways in which these communities perceive and organize the world around them. The sound systems, with their varied tones, consonant clusters, and unique sounds, provide a sonic map of the family's complex history, tracing the paths of migration and the influence of neighboring languages. The role of Tibeto-Burman languages in oral traditions, religious practices, and social interactions is profound. Many communities have rich oral literatures, passed down through generations in the form of epic poems, folktales, and songs. In Tibet, for example, the chanting of Buddhist scriptures in classical Tibetan plays a central role in religious life. In the mountains of southwest China, the Hani people use their language to perform elaborate rituals and ceremonies, connecting them to their ancestors and the natural world. These languages, like cultural vessels, carry the accumulated wisdom and traditions of generations. The study of Tibeto-Burman is not just an academic exercise, it's a journey into the heart of human experience, exploring the myriad ways in which language shapes our understanding of the world. It's a journey to remote and often inaccessible regions, where languages are not just tools of communication, but threads in the fabric of culture, identity, and history. These whispers from the Himalayas, carried on the wind, across mountains and valleys, tell a story of human resilience, creativity, and the enduring power of language to connect us to each other and to our shared past. Chapter 7. Farming the Words: How Agriculture Shaped Sino-Tibetan's Destiny. Imagine the first Sino-Tibetan speakers, not just cultivating the land, but sowing the very seeds of language, their words intertwined with the growth of foxtail millet and broomcorn millet in the fertile lands of northern China. This chapter explores the fascinating link between agriculture and the development of the Sino-Tibetan language family, a connection so deep that it shaped not only their vocabulary but also their grammar, culture, and very identity. The prevailing theory among many scholars is that the spread of agriculture, specifically the cultivation of millet, acted as a catalyst for the expansion of Sino-Tibetan languages across East Asia. Picture these early farming communities migrating from the Yellow River Valley, carrying with them not just seeds and tools, but also the seeds of their language. As they interacted with other groups, their language spread, taking root in new territories and gradually diversifying into the hundreds of languages we see today. This farming language dispersal hypothesis proposes that the success of millet agriculture fueled population growth, leading to the expansion of both people and their language. The cultivation of millet, particularly foxtail millet, Setaria italica, and broomcorn millet, Panicum miliaceum, played a central role in the Neolithic cultures of northern China, including the late Sichuan and early Yangzhou cultures. These cultures, dating back to around 7,200 years ago, represent the likely cradle of Proto-Sino-Tibetan. The linguistic evidence supports this theory. Reconstructed Proto-Sino-Tibetan words for crops and animals reveal a clear agricultural focus. Words for pig and sheep, domesticated animals commonly found in these Neolithic cultures, appear across different branches of the family, suggesting they were part of the ancestral vocabulary. Crucially, words for both foxtail millet and broomcorn millet have been reconstructed, further solidifying the link between early Sino-Tibetan speakers and millet cultivation. As the language spread, so too did agricultural knowledge and practices. The presence or absence of certain agricultural terms in different branches of the family tells a compelling story of how agriculture influenced vocabulary development. While words for millet and other northern domesticates are widespread, terms for crops like rice, cattle, and horses show a more restricted distribution, suggesting their later adoption as the language expanded southward and westward. For example, while the Sinitic branch has words for rice, the earliest forms likely arose through contact with Austroasiatic languages, reflecting the southward spread of rice cultivation. Similarly, terms for cattle and horses, domesticated west of China, appear to have entered the non-Sinitic branches later, possibly through contact with other language families in the west. This pattern of borrowing and adaptation reflects the dynamic interplay between language, culture, and the environment. The adoption of new crops and agricultural techniques also spurred the development of specialized terminology within different branches of the family. In the Tibeto-Burman branch, for example, languages spoken in regions where rice cultivation became dominant developed unique vocabularies related to rice farming, reflecting the importance of this crop in their livelihoods. Similarly, languages spoken in pastoral regions developed specialized terms for animal husbandry, demonstrating the adaptability of language to specific cultural and environmental contexts. The connection between agriculture and the development of classifiers in Sino-Tibetan is particularly intriguing. Classifiers, grammatical markers that categorize nouns based on their characteristics, are a prominent feature of both Sinitic and some Tibeto-Burman languages. These classifiers often reflect the agricultural practices of the speakers, providing a linguistic window into their world. In Chinese, for example, the classifier zhen is used for long, thin objects, including crops like rice and wheat. The classifier tu, meaning head, is used for livestock, reflecting their importance in agricultural societies. In Tibeto-Burman languages, classifiers often reflect even more nuanced agricultural distinctions. For example, some languages have different classifiers for different types of rice, reflecting the diversity of rice varieties cultivated in the region. This close relationship between classifiers and agriculture suggests that these grammatical markers may have evolved alongside the diversification of agricultural techniques and the adoption of new crops. The question of whether agricultural classifiers originated in Proto-Sino-Tibetan or developed independently in different branches is a topic of ongoing debate among linguists. While some scholars argue for a common origin, pointing to similarities in the classifier systems of Sinitic and some Tibeto-Burman languages, others suggest independent development, emphasizing the diversity of classifier systems across the family. This debate highlights the challenges of reconstructing grammatical features, which are often more susceptible to change and borrowing than basic vocabulary. The influence of agriculture extends beyond vocabulary and grammar, shaping the social and cultural fabric of early Sino-Tibetan communities. Archaeological evidence from the Yangshuo culture reveals a tradition of communal feasts and rituals involving food sharing and group dancing. Imagine these early farmers gathering in a central plaza, their painted pottery vessels filled with food and drink, celebrating the harvest and reinforcing social bonds. These communal activities likely played a crucial role in the spread of language and culture, providing opportunities for interaction and linguistic exchange. The shared experience of agriculture and the rituals associated with it may have contributed to a sense of shared identity and cultural cohesion, further promoting the spread of Proto-Sino-Tibetan. The lasting impact of agriculture on Sino-Tibetan culture is evident in the persistence of certain agricultural traditions and rituals among modern communities. In southwestern China, for example, many ethnic groups, including speakers of Tibeto-Burman languages, continue to practice rituals and ceremonies related to agriculture, often involving food sharing, music, and dance. These practices, echoing the ancient rituals of the Yangshuo culture, demonstrate the enduring influence of agriculture on social structures and cultural identity. The use of specific agricultural terms in songs, stories, and religious ceremonies further reinforces the connection between language, culture, and the land. The story of Sino-Tibetan is a story of how agriculture shaped not only the words but also the world of its speakers. From the cultivation of millet in the Yellow River Valley to the adoption of rice in the south, agriculture has been a driving force in the family's expansion and diversification. The linguistic evidence, from reconstructed vocabulary to the development of classifiers, reveals a deep and enduring connection between language, culture, and the land. The communal feasts and rituals associated with agriculture fostered social cohesion and cultural identity, while the adoption of new crops and techniques spurred linguistic innovation. The whispers of these ancient farmers, encoded in the words and grammar of their descendants, continue to resonate across the vast and diverse landscape of Sino-Tibetan, a testament to the enduring power of language to connect us to our shared past. Chapter 8. A Tapestry of Tongues. Language Contact and Change in Sino-Tibetan. Imagine a bustling marketplace in the foothills of the Himalayas, where traders speaking Tibetan, Burmese, and Chinese haggle over goods, their languages intermingling like the aromas of spices and silks. This scene captures the essence of language contact, a dynamic force that has shaped the Sino-Tibetan family, creating a linguistic landscape as diverse and vibrant as the cultures it encompasses. From the towering peaks of the Himalayas to the fertile plains of China, language contact has woven a complex tapestry of borrowings, adaptations, and subtle shifts, enriching the Sino-Tibetan family and leaving its imprint on the languages spoken by billions today. Borrowing, the adoption of words from one language into another, is perhaps the most visible manifestation of language contact. The Sino-Tibetan family offers a rich array of examples, showcasing the dynamic exchange of words and ideas between different branches and neighboring language families. The influence of Chinese, with its long history and vast cultural reach, is particularly evident in many Tibeto-Burman languages. Tibetan, for instance, has borrowed numerous terms related to administration, trade, and Buddhism from Chinese. Words like cha, tea, originally from Sinitic, have become integral parts of the Tibetan lexicon, reflecting the cultural exchange that accompanied the trade routes. Similarly, Burmese has borrowed words like lok, wax, and check, demonstrating the long history of contact between these two languages. Even in the remote Himalayas, languages like Kanauri show evidence of Chinese influence, with words for numbers like shi, 10, borrowed from Sinitic. This borrowing is not a one-way street. While the influence of Chinese is undeniable, there's also evidence of Tibeto-Burman languages contributing to the Chinese lexicon. Some scholars suggest that certain words in Old Chinese, the ancestor of modern Sinitic languages, might have their roots in Tibeto-Burman. This linguistic cross-pollination highlights the dynamic nature of language contact, a two-way exchange that enriches both languages involved. It's important to note that some shared vocabulary between Chinese and Tibeto-Burman predates the well-documented contact, adding a layer of complexity to the analysis. Words like some, three, appear in Old Chinese, Tibetan, and Burmese, suggesting an ancient connection that predates the later borrowings. The adaptation of borrowed words into the recipient language is a fascinating process. Sounds shift, tones are adjusted, and sometimes the word's meaning evolves. For instance, the Chinese word main, name, has been borrowed into Tibetan as main, retaining a similar pronunciation. However, in Burmese, the same word has become mai, undergoing a more substantial phonetic transformation. These adaptations reflect the unique sound systems and grammatical structures of the recipient languages, demonstrating how borrowed words are reshaped to fit their new linguistic homes. Beyond vocabulary, language contact has left its mark on the very sounds and structures of Sino-Tibetan languages. The development of tones in Chinese, a defining feature of the Sinitic branch, is a prime example. While the exact origins of Chinese tones are still debated, some scholars suggest that contact with other language families, possibly Austroasiatic or Tai-Kadai, may have played a role. Imagine early Chinese speakers interacting with communities whose languages used pitch to distinguish meaning. This contact might have triggered the development of tones in Chinese, transforming the language's sound system and setting it apart from other branches of Sino-Tibetan. The presence or absence of tones in other Sino-Tibetan languages further illustrates the complex interplay of language contact and internal development. While many Tibeto-Burman languages, like Burmese and Yi, also use tones, others, like many of the languages spoken in the Himalayas, are non-tonal. This variation suggests that tones may have developed independently in different branches of the family, possibly influenced by contact with different language families or internal linguistic processes. It's like observing the evolution of different species. While sharing a common ancestor, they have adapted to different environments and developed unique characteristics. Language contact has also shaped the grammar of Sino-Tibetan languages. Classifiers, words that categorize nouns based on their characteristics, are a prominent feature of Sinitic and some Tibeto-Burman languages. While their origins are debated, the diversity of classifier systems across the family suggests that contact with other languages may have played a role in their development. Imagine communities interacting and borrowing not just words, but also grammatical concepts. This linguistic exchange can lead to the adoption and adaptation of classifiers, reflecting the cultural and linguistic influences of neighboring communities. Verb prefixes, another distinctive feature of Tibeto-Burman, offer another example of how language contact can shape grammar. These prefixes, attached to the beginning of verbs, can convey a wealth of information, from tense and aspect to the direction of an action. While the use of prefixes is widespread in Tibeto-Burman, their specific forms and functions can vary significantly across different languages and branches. This variation suggests that contact with other languages may have contributed to the development and diversification of prefix systems. It's like observing the evolution of tools. While serving a similar purpose, their design and materials can vary depending on the needs and resources of the users. Word order, the arrangement of words in a sentence, is another area where language contact has left its mark. While the typical word order in Sino-Tibetan is subject-object-verb, some languages have shifted to subject-verb-object, possibly due to contact with Indo-European languages. Chinese, the most prominent example, follows a subject-verb-object order, a departure from the ancestral pattern. This shift reflects a fundamental change in the way grammatical relations are expressed, a testament to the transformative power of language contact. It's like rearranging the furniture in a room. The same elements are present, but their arrangement creates a different feel and function. The mountainous regions of the Himalayas, the Southeast Asian Massif, and the eastern edge of the Tibetan Plateau have been particularly susceptible to language contact. These regions, characterized by their rugged terrain and diverse communities, have long served as crossroads of cultures and languages. The Himalayas, for instance, are home to a remarkable concentration of languages from different families, including Sino-Tibetan, Indo-European, and Austroasiatic. This linguistic diversity reflects the region's history as a meeting point for different cultures and migration routes. The languages spoken in these regions often exhibit unique characteristics, reflecting the complex interplay of borrowing, adaptation, and internal development. Imagine a linguistic melting pot, where languages from different families simmer and blend, exchanging flavors and creating new and unique linguistic dishes. One of the key challenges in studying language contact is distinguishing between borrowing, shared ancestry, and chance resemblances. When two languages share similar words or grammatical structures, it can be difficult to determine whether these similarities are due to borrowing, inheritance from a common ancestor, or simply coincidence. Linguists employ a range of tools and methods to tease apart these different possibilities, comparing sound correspondences, analyzing grammatical structures, and considering the historical and cultural context of the languages involved. It's like a detective investigating a crime scene, carefully examining the evidence to determine the true cause of the event. The concept of language families arising through demographic processes driven by changes in food procurement offers a fascinating perspective on the spread of Sino-Tibetan. The farming language dispersal hypothesis proposes that the expansion of agriculture, particularly millet cultivation, played a crucial role in the dispersal of Proto-Sino-Tibetan. Imagine early farming communities migrating from the Yellow River Valley, carrying their language and agricultural practices with them. As they settled in new territories, their language spread, taking root and branching out, eventually giving rise to the diverse languages we see today. The success of millet farming fueled population growth, providing a demographic engine for language expansion. The shared agricultural practices and vocabulary further facilitated communication and cultural exchange, contributing to the linguistic similarities observed across the family. It's like a seed carried by the wind, taking root in new soil and giving rise to a new plant. The language spreading with the farmers, growing and adapting to new environments. The story of Sino-Tibetan is a story of constant change and adaptation, a testament to the dynamic nature of language and its interaction with culture, environment, and other languages. From the borrowing of words to the subtle shifts in sounds and grammar, language contact has left its indelible mark on the family, creating a linguistic tapestry as rich and varied as the people who speak these languages. It's a story that continues to unfold, as languages evolve, interact, and adapt to the ever-changing world around them. Chapter 9. Saving the Sounds. Preserving Endangered Sino-Tibetan Languages. The Sino-Tibetan language family, a vast and ancient tapestry of tongues, faces a profound challenge: the looming extinction of many of its lesser-known members. Imagine a vibrant mosaic, where each tile represents a unique language, a distinct way of seeing the world. Now, picture those tiles fading, cracking, and disappearing one by one, leaving gaps in the intricate pattern. This is the reality facing numerous Sino-Tibetan languages, particularly those spoken by small, isolated communities in the remote mountains of the Himalayas, the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, and the vast plains of China. While the spread of dominant languages like Mandarin and Hindi certainly contributes to this linguistic erosion, the forces at play are far more complex. Urbanization draws younger generations away from their ancestral villages, where traditional languages thrive, to cities where the dominant language holds sway. Changing economic landscapes, driven by globalization and modernization, often prioritize the dominant language for education and employment, leaving little room for local tongues. The result is a gradual decline in intergenerational transmission, with fewer and fewer children learning their ancestral languages. The voices of elders, the keepers of linguistic and cultural knowledge, fade away, taking with them irreplaceable treasures of language and tradition. The scale of the threat is alarming. Over 100 Tibeto-Burman languages, spoken by fewer than 1,000 people each, teeter on the brink of extinction. Languages like Chongla, spoken in Bhutan, and Chepang, spoken in Nepal, cling to existence, their speaker communities dwindling with each passing year. Many others, their names unknown to most, are spoken in remote, difficult-to-reach mountain areas, their sounds and structures poorly documented, their stories and traditions at risk of being lost forever. Imagine a language spoken in a single isolated village, high in the Himalayas, its unique sounds and grammar unknown to the outside world. If the last speakers of that language pass away without their words being recorded, a unique piece of human history vanishes, a linguistic and cultural treasure lost forever. The situation in northeastern India, a region renowned for its linguistic diversity, is particularly precarious. Numerous Tibeto-Burman languages, many spoken by small tribal communities, face the threat of extinction due to language shift, urbanization, and lack of intergenerational transmission. In Arunachal Pradesh, languages like Puroic, Suling, and Bagun, Koa, with their unique negation systems and grammatical structures, struggled to survive in the face of dominant languages like Hindi. The loss of these languages would not only diminish the linguistic diversity of the region but also erase valuable insights into the history and culture of these communities. Fortunately, the fight to save these endangered languages is not lost. Dedicated linguists, often working in collaboration with local communities, are racing against time to document and preserve these fading voices. In the mountains of Yunnan, China, researchers are working with communities like the Bio, speakers of a southern Ngwe language, to document their language and cultural practices. This work involves recording spoken narratives, creating dictionaries and grammars, and developing educational materials to promote language learning and revitalization. Similar efforts are underway across the Tibeto-Burman domain, from Nepal, where researchers are documenting languages like Narfu and Manonge, to Bhutan, where Dzongkha, the national language, is being promoted through education and media. The use of linguistic software has become an invaluable tool in these documentation efforts. Programs like those developed by the Sino-Tibetan Etymological Dictionary and the Source, STEDT, project allow researchers to analyze language data, identify cognates, and reconstruct proto-languages. Imagine a digital archive, where words and phrases from different Sino-Tibetan languages are meticulously catalogued, their relationships mapped, their sounds preserved for future generations. These digital tools not only facilitate linguistic analysis but also empower communities to preserve and promote their own languages. Training the next generation of linguists and language activists is crucial to the long-term success of these preservation efforts. Workshops and training programs like the Sino-Tibetan Language Research Methodology Workshop at Nankai University in Tianjin, China, equip students from Tibetan and other minority nationalities with the skills and knowledge needed to document and revitalize their languages. These programs focus on descriptive linguistics, language documentation techniques, and approaches to multilingualism, empowering communities to take ownership of their linguistic heritage. Imagine a young Tibetan linguist, trained in the latest language documentation techniques, returning to their village to record the stories and songs of their elders, preserving their language and culture for future generations. The cultural consequences of language loss are far-reaching and profound. Each language embodies a unique way of seeing the world, a distinct cultural lens through which its speakers perceive and interpret their experiences. When a language dies, a wealth of traditional knowledge, stories, songs, and rituals disappears with it. In southwestern China, for example, many Tibeto-Burman communities practice rituals related to agriculture, their language intertwined with the cycles of planting, harvesting, and celebrating the bounty of the land. These rituals, passed down through generations in the local language, reinforce social bonds and connect communities to their ancestors and the natural world. The loss of the language would not only sever this connection but also erase a unique expression of human culture. The diversity of Sino-Tibetan languages is a reflection of the human capacity for creativity and adaptation. From the tonal complexities of Cantonese to the intricate verb-prefix systems of Kiranti languages, each language represents a unique solution to the puzzle of human communication. The reconstruction of Proto-Sino-Tibetan, while challenging, offers a glimpse into the linguistic and cultural world of our ancestors, revealing their agricultural practices, their social structures, and their understanding of the natural world. The ongoing debate surrounding the family's origins, whether in northern China, the southwestern mountains, or the eastern Himalayas, highlights the complexities of tracing language back through millennia. The difficulties in reconstructing the family tree, due to the sheer diversity of the languages, the lack of inflection in some branches, and the pervasive influence of language contact, underscore the challenges faced by linguists in their quest to unravel the family's history. The preservation of endangered Sino-Tibetan languages is not just about saving sounds. It's about safeguarding the cultural heritage of humanity. It's about ensuring that the diverse voices of the Sino-Tibetan family continue to be heard, that their unique perspectives and traditions are not lost to the sands of time. The challenge is immense, but the rewards are immeasurable. By supporting language documentation efforts, promoting language learning and revitalization, and fostering respect for linguistic diversity, we can help ensure that the vibrant tapestry of Sino-Tibetan languages remains whole, a testament to the enduring power of language to connect us to each other and to our shared past. The Sino-Tibetan language family, second only to Indo-European in size, presents a captivating journey through linguistic diversity and historical depth. From the bustling cities of China to the remote Himalayan villages, over 1.4 billion people speak languages descended from a common ancestor, Proto-Sino-Tibetan. Reconstructing this ancient tongue, like piecing together a fragmented puzzle, reveals clues about early agricultural practices, social structures, and migration patterns. The cultivation of millet, likely a cornerstone of early Sino-Tibetan society, appears to have propelled the language's spread across East Asia. As communities migrated and interacted, the language diversified, branching into Sinitic, including Mandarin, Cantonese, and others, and the incredibly diverse Tibeto-Burman branch, which spans from Tibet to Southeast Asia. The sheer variety within Tibeto-Burman showcases the human capacity for linguistic innovation, from complex tone systems and verb prefixes to unique classifiers that categorize nouns based on cultural perceptions. However, this linguistic richness is under threat. Many Tibeto-Burman languages are endangered, facing pressures from dominant languages and societal changes. The loss of these languages would not only silence unique voices but also erase valuable cultural knowledge and historical insights. Fortunately, linguists are working alongside communities to document and revitalize these languages, using cutting-edge technology and fostering intergenerational transmission. Studying the Sino-Tibetan family offers broader insights into language evolution, the impact of agriculture on societies, and the forces that shape linguistic landscapes. The dynamic interplay of language contact, evident in borrowed words and adapted sounds, reveals how languages constantly evolve and interact. Understanding these processes deepens our appreciation for the interconnectedness of languages and cultures. Moreover, the challenges of language reconstruction highlight the complexities of tracing linguistic history and the importance of preserving endangered languages before their unique stories are lost. Looking ahead, research in this field promises to further illuminate the origins and evolution of Sino-Tibetan, potentially revealing new connections between languages and cultures. The development of sophisticated computational tools and increased collaboration with local communities will be crucial in this endeavor. What are your thoughts on the Sino-Tibetan language family? Do you have any questions about the languages discussed or the research methods used? Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this exploration, please like and subscribe for more linguistic adventures. And if you have suggestions for future topics, we're all ears. The journey of discovery never ends, and the more we learn about languages, the more we learn about ourselves and the rich tapestry of human experience.